I'm the Scrub and you're here for one reason. 4 down, 8 to go. I know that I shouldn't give them 8 months to recharge, but if Dragon Ball has taught me anything, it's that I want them to always be at full strength, so when I punch them really hard in the face and they feel it, it's going to mean something. Let's throw away our medical license, order a number 14 with extra chips, and kill some f***ing gods. Time to learn about Euphrosyne. Simplified. There's only a short walk to the first boss, Nophica, and her enhanced Scythe. Abundance is a room-wide AoE. Matron's Plenty will be a 2-phase mechanic. For the first phase, she will change the arena into a field of flowers. She will then cast the Giving Land. While the arena is a field of flowers, she will get rose petals dancing around her. At the end of this cast, there will be a point-blank AoE underneath her. You will need to get out at max melee range to avoid the hit. For the second phase, she will change the arena into a grassy forest. She will then cast the Giving Land again. While the arena is a forest, she will get several vines that will circle her. At the end of this cast, there will be a donut AoE from her position. You will need to get close to her hitbox to avoid the hit. Getting hit by either of these mechanics will give you a Vol stack, a hard hit, and launch you into the air. During this entire mechanic, it will also give the outside wall around the arena a ring of thorns. Touching this wall will give you a 15-second unassumable bleeding dot tick. Later on, when she casts Matron's Plenty, the order of flowers or forest can switch. Matron's Harvest is a slow-casting room-wide AoE that will change the arena back to normal. Reaper's Gale will create 2 sets of AoEs in a checkerboard pattern. You'll just need to stand where the first set of safe zones are and then wait for the first set of AoEs to go off. Then move diagonally into the next safe zone to avoid the second set of AoEs. Getting hit by any of these straight line AoEs will give you a Vol stack. She'll then cast Matron's Plenty and change the arena again. Right after this, she will cast Floral Haze. This will give everyone a forced march debuff in a certain direction, either forward, back, left, or right. This will expire in 16 seconds and force you to march in the direction of your debuff. She will then cast 2 the Giving Lands back to back, swapping the environment between each cast. So you'll want to dodge to avoid the first cast, then turn your character so you're either forced to march into the donut AoE safe spot if she's in the forest and has the vines around her, or away from the point blank AoE if she's in the flower field and has the petals around her. She will then change the arena back to normal, move into the middle of the arena, and cast Matron's Breath. She will blow yellow and blue petals around the arena. Up the north end of the arena, there will be beams of light with dots above them and slowly shrinking circles. The dots will indicate the order that they spawn in and also the order that they will explode in. The blue beams will have circles around them and the yellow beams will have triangles around them. Along with the beams, there will be 2 circles of different colored flowers on the ground. These circles will also have the shapes around them that will be the same around the beams. When the circles around the beams shrink small enough to disappear, the beam will explode in a room-wide AoE. This will give you a Vol stack and a hard hit. The way to avoid this is to stand in the same colored circle of flowers as the beam that will explode. If you do this, not only will you avoid the Vol stack, but it will also slightly heal you if you do it correctly. You'll need to move between the colored circles as the different colored beams explode. Later on in the fight, there'll be a lot more beams, so you'll need to pay attention to the order of when they spawn in and go off. The next Floral Haze cast will give players either an 18-second or a 35-second Force March debuff, so you'll need to be aware of when your debuff is about to expire for the upcoming set of mechanics. Landwalker will be cast just before the next Reaper's Gale will happen. This will put down several medium-sized point-blank AoEs around the arena. These will give you a Vol stack if you get hit by them. You'll just need to avoid them while maneuvering around the checkerboard pattern of AoEs as best you can. As these finish, you'll need to quickly position yourself to march into the safe zone of either the donut or the point-blank AoE if you've received the 18-second debuff. When this ends, Nophica will cast Sowing Circle, which will be 2 sets of Exaflares to the cardinal and intercardinal points of the arena. These will expand out in a straight line from Nophica to the outside wall. There are 2 ways to dodge this. One is to stand in between 2 of the first set of arrows and wait for them to go off and move past you before moving over to now be in between 2 of the second set of arrows. Or you can get right out towards the wall to be beside both sets of AoEs as they travel past you. If you get hit by any of these AoEs, you'll get a Vol stack. As the second one fires away, you'll need to quickly position yourself to march into the safe zone of either the donut or the point blank AoE if you've received the 35-second debuff. Furrow is a stack marker on a random player. Group up to share the damage. And finally, Heaven's Earth will target all 3 tanks with a point blank AoE tank buster, so the tanks will need to spread out and avoid overlapping these. And everyone else shouldn't stand with the tanks to admire Nophica's Nophikas. From here, mechanics will repeat until Nophica has been defeated. Exit out of the arena and follow the path to the next small jump pad. Pull the 3 toads and the 6 werewoods. You'll need to avoid all of the conal, point blank, and straight line AoEs, as all of these will give you a Vol stack if you get hit by them. When everything has been defeated, take the next 2 jump pads and pull the 3 yaks. Roaring Rumble is a room-wide AoE. Rock Throw will target random party members with a point blank AoE at their feet. If you get hit by this, you'll get a Vol stack. And Sweeping Gouge will be a tank buster on whoever they are aggroed to. When the 3 enemies have been defeated, a large AoE will appear on the north end of the arena. You'll need to move away from this or get a hard hit and a knockback if you're still standing in it. A Behemoth Behemoth will land on this AoE. It will cast Localized Maelstrom, which will be a stacking tank buster. All of the tanks will stack up and take this hit together. Don't try and cosplay as a tank for this mechanic either. The Behemoth will rise up on its hind legs and cast Ecliptic Comet. This will be a proximity marker from where it's standing. You'll need to move far away from this to reduce the overall damage to you. If you are too close to this marker, it will easily one-shot you. It will then turn to a random party member and cast Trounce. This will be a conal AoE in the direction it's facing. You'll need to quickly move to the side of the AoE to dodge this. Getting hit by it will give you a very hard hit and a vol stack. When it has been defeated, walk over the next two jump heads and you'll be greeted by the siblings Althyk and Nymeia. A few things before we start this fight. The siblings will perform their casts together and will also continuously try to keep their health as equal as possible. When the health difference between the siblings becomes too much, the one with the greater health will transfer their health to the other so they have an equal amount. This will continue until at least one of them has been defeated. Both of them will have a buff called Arcane Triumph that will have an 8-minute timer. This will act like an enrage. If you fail to defeat at least one boss before the timer expires, the bosses will move into the middle of the room and cast Nikos. They will become untargetable and slowly perform their enrage, which will delete the party, but it does look so incredibly cool. Once you defeat at least one of them, the buff will disappear for the other one and you'll be able to complete the fight. You will also need to keep the siblings apart. If they are too close, they will tether together and get a buff called Sibling Revelry. Not only will this increase their damage dealt, but also decrease their damage taken for as long as they are tethered together. This fight will have a lot going on and is a little bit complicated as I have to explain mechanics from two different bosses, so I'm going to try to explain each individual mechanic as best I can. The arena will not have any walls, so try not to fall off. Nymeia will cast Spinner's Wheel. This will give everyone one of two different cards, one with a heart on top or one with a sun on top. Keep in mind that no matter which one you get, this will be the only card that you'll deal with for the entire raid. If you get the one with the heart, you'll get the debuff of Arcane Attraction. You will also get 8 stars appearing around you one at a time from 8 seconds remaining in the debuff. At about 3 seconds remaining, you will get a tether to Nymeia, who will also get a staring contest on her. Once the debuff expires, you'll need to be looking away from Nymeia. If you fail to do this, you'll be given a vol stack and also the debuff of Seduced, which will incapacitate you for several seconds. If you get the card with the sun, you'll get the debuff of Arcane Fever. You'll get the same stars to help you with the countdown. When the debuff expires, everyone will get the debuff of Pyretic for 2 seconds. Moving or casting while the Pyretic debuff is on you will give you damage for each tick that you're doing something, so it's best to just put your weapon away and not do anything for 2 seconds. As the first card finishes, Althyk will cast Mithril Great Axe, which is a conal AoE directed towards a random player. This will give you a vol stack and a very hard hit and can potentially be an instant one-shot if you aren't a mitigating tank. This conal AoE will happen a lot throughout the fight, so be on your guard if he aims this in your direction. Nymeia will then repeat Spinner's Wheel and give everyone the same card and the same debuff, but this one will count down from 20. Althyk will then cast Time and Tide. When this cast finishes, it will very quickly accelerate the time left on the debuff. It will go down from 8 to 0 in approximately 2 seconds. So when his cast finishes, you'll need to look away if you have the heart or stop moving if you have the sun. Althyk will then cast Axioma. This will be a room-wide AoE that will create a pattern of purple shadows on the floor. While you're standing in these shadows, they will give you the debuffs of Heavy and Magic Vulnerability up. Keep this in mind for later. Nymeia will cast Hydroptosis and place 4 point-blank AoEs on 4 random members of each alliance. You'll want to spread out and not overlap these. You will also not want to stand in the shadows as the cast ends because these point-blank AoEs are magic damage and will instantly one-shot you due to the magic vulner. Althyk will then cast Inexorable Pull, which gives the arena a slightly darker tone and will also have arrows rising from the arena. You will need to get into the purple shadows for this, as this will give you the heavy debuff and your fat ass won't get launched into the air. If you fail to get into the shadows in time, you will be thrown into the air and also damaged when you hit the ground. You'll also need to not be standing in these shadows if Althyk casts Axioma again, as this is also magic damage and can have the chance to instantly one-shot you. Hydrorhythmos will be a straight line AoE through the middle of the arena with blue arrows flowing out of it like a wave. This will be an expanding AoE from this straight line AoE outwards towards the edge of the arena. You'll need to stand next to the first AoE and dodge into it when it goes off to avoid the rest of the AoEs. Getting hit by any of the AoEs from this wave will give you a slight knockback and a 21-second sustained damage dot tick. Althyk will move into the middle of the arena and cast Petrai, which is a stacking tank buster. Both tanks that are not in control of Nymeia will need to stack up and take this together with mitigation, as it can easily delete you if you aren't careful. At the same time as this, Nymeia will move to the southern end of the arena and cast Hydrostasis, which will create 3 water puddles on the ground with a number of diamonds above them ranging from 1 to 3. The number of diamonds will indicate the order that they will go off in. The water puddles will get stars around them to show how long they have left until they go off. At 3 seconds remaining, there will be a knockback indicator from the first puddle. You'll need to position yourself to be knocked towards the second puddle. Then you'll need to quickly reposition yourself to be knocked towards the third puddle, and then finally move to be knocked into the open area of the arena. This mechanic will happen a lot quicker than you realize, so please make sure that you move as fast as you can when you see the mechanic about to resolve. You can also use knockback immunity to dodge 2 of these, but it needs to be used right before one of them goes off. If you are going to use it, I'd recommend doing it for the last 2, or at least just the last one if you mistime it. Later on in the fight with this same mechanic, Althyk will cast Time and Tide on the puddle that has 3 diamonds and change it so it has 1. This will change the number 1 puddle to number 2 and the number 2 puddle to number 3. After this will be another cast of Spinner's Wheel by Nymeia, but this will spin the card around and give you the inverse debuff of what you would normally get. reversed. So if you have the card with the heart, you will now have the debuff of attraction reversed. This is the same mechanic, but instead of looking away from Nymeia, you'll need to be looking towards her. If you have the reverse debuff and you look away from her, you'll be given a Volstack and also seduced. And if you have the card with the sun, you will now have the debuff of fever reversed. Instead of standing still, you will need to continue moving when the debuff expires. If you are not moving when the debuff expires, you will get a Volstack and be frozen in place, leaving you unable to do anything for several seconds. Both of them will repeat these mechanics until they have been defeated. Interact with the Frost Wreath portal to move to the next area. Pull the 3 Colossus and the 6 Daruvas. The Daruva will cast Ethereal Blizzard, which is a straight line AoE. Getting hit by this will give you a Volstack. The casts from each of the Colossus will either be Frozen Perimeter, which is a donut AoE, or Inner Blade Storm, which is a point blank AoE. Getting hit by Frozen Perimeter will give you a Frostbite dot tick, and getting hit by Inner Blade Storm will give you a Volstack. Both of these AoEs can be interrupted. They can also cast Rapid Sever, which is a tank buster, to whoever holds their aggro. When everything has been defeated, you can make your way up the next path and take the slide to the next boss, Halone. Rain of Spears will be a triple room-wide AoE hit. Halone will then move into the middle of the room and cast Tetrapagos. This will be a slow cast that will show 4 different AoEs that will be in a random order. A point blank AoE, a donut AoE, and 2 cleaves on the left and right of the arena. Now these will appear as a telegraph once and then move on to the next telegraph, so you'll need to make sure that you remember the order that they are shown. This will also happen multiple times throughout the fight. As much as this mechanic looks like it has a lot going on, there's only 4 AoEs that you need to avoid. You'll need to get into the first safe spot of the first AoE, then move into the next safe spots for each AoE as they happen. You can also wait to see if the first 2 AoEs will be the opposite, as in the first AoE being a side cleave and the second AoE being a point blank or donut, or vice versa. If you see this happening, you can stand to the safe spots to avoid the first 2 AoEs, and after they go off, you can move diagonally to avoid the final 2 AoEs. As an example, if you start left and out, you'll need to move right and in to avoid the final 2 AoEs. Just be aware of which 2 are starting so you know which safe spot to stand in at the beginning. If you get hit by any of these 4 AoEs, it will be a hard hit and a Volstack. Doom Spear will create 3 stacking meteor towers. Everyone will need to group into their alliances, with A going to the northwest, C going to the northeast, and B going directly to jail, do not pass go, do not collect $200. All alliances will need to group up in these stack towers to share the damage. Spears 3 will give each tank a medium-sized circular AoE tank buster, so all of the tanks will need to spread out and avoid overlapping these. And everyone else should move away from the tanks unless you want to know what it's like to be a shish kebab. She will then move back into the middle of the room and cast 1000-fold thrust. She will get crosshairs all around her that will all condense into one. This crosshair will then multiply and cover the half of the arena from the direction it was extended from Halone's position. This will be a constant hitting AoE for 3.5 seconds on this half of the arena, followed by 1 massive hit to finish off the attack. You will need to get to the opposite side of where the crosshairs condense to avoid the attack. Standing in this AoE will give you a Volstack for every tick that you're inside it. This mechanic will then repeat. Halone will then create 2 yellow tethers to 2 points on the outside of the arena and cast Lokos. This will morph into 2 long lines of spears that will fire a continuous straight line AoE down one half of the arena each. You'll need to move around to the quadrant of the arena that won't be hit by the spears in order to dodge the attack. You'll get a Volstack for every tick that you're in the AoE. This next mechanic will catch a lot of people out. Will of the Fury will start with a donut AoE on the outside of the arena that will begin to move in, getting close to the center of the arena with every hit. If you get hit by this AoE, you'll get a Volstack and a frozen dot tick, which will also freeze you in place for several seconds. At the same time this is going on, there will be a cast of Wrath of Halone, which will be a proximity marker under Halone's feet. You'll need to wait just inside of the first point where the AoE will hit first, and then move to the outside of the arena as it goes off to avoid the rest of the AoEs, and also move far enough away from the proximity marker to reduce the overall damage to you. After this, Halone will move to the north end of the arena and become untargetable. 3 Glacial Spears will drop inside 3 octagonal areas. Everyone will need to split into their alliances and begin to destroy the spears. A bar labeled the Fury's Frost will appear. If this bar completely fills, Halone will wipe the group. After 8 seconds, the entire outside of the arena will be hit with an AoE as a final spear will land in the center of the arena. If you're still outside of the octagonal areas when this hits, it will give a hard hit, and there will also be a lingering frozen AoE that will give you a frostbite dot tick until you perish. The spears will cast Nefas, which will be a point blank AoE around itself. If you get hit by this, it will give you a Volstack. At the same time as this, half of each alliance will get a point blank AoE, so everyone will need to spread out around the outside of the spears AoE to avoid overlapping these. The middle spear will get 3 straight line AoEs that will be targeted towards the other spears and start casting Kelmon. It will also get arrows around it that will show which way these AoEs will be rotating. You'll need to get behind the AoE as it will travel away from you around the arena. Getting hit by this AoE will give you a Volstack. These mechanics will repeat until you defeat your spear where the barrier will drop. When you get out, you'll need to defeat the middle glacial spear. Once the middle spear has been defeated, you can help any other remaining parties with their spears. Once all the spears have been defeated, Halone will perform their ultimate. The next cast of Lokos will also come with a 1000-fold thrust. This will cut the safe zone in half, so make sure that you're away from the spears and away from the crosshairs. As this is ending, 6 players will get a point blank AoE, so these players will need to spread out and not overlap these. And the next cast of Tetrapagos will be upgraded to Tetrapagos Thrust. This will still have the 4 AoEs of Tetrapagos, but at the end will be a 1000-fold thrust set of crosshairs, so you'll have to dodge an additional half-room cleave. Kaleza will give 3 players in each alliance a point blank AoE and 1 random player in the entire alliance a stack marker, so the 9 point blank AoEs will need to spread out as best they can while everyone else groups up to share share the damage. From here, mechanics will begin to repeat until Halone has been defeated. Walk over the teleportation pad to be taken on a rail of ice to another platform where you'll have to walk through to the next area and meet the final boss, Menphina. Blue Moon is a room-wide AoE. The first time this is cast, it will create a glow around the outside of the arena. Touching this glowy area will give you a 15-second unassumable bleeding dot tick. Love's Light will create a new moon on the north side of the arena. She will then cast Full Bright, which will begin to shine a light on the moon. When the moon becomes full of light, it will fire a straight line AoE across the arena. You'll need to get to the sides of the moon or outside the lines on the ground to dodge this. Getting hit by this AoE will give you a Vul stack. Menphina will then move into the middle of the room and cast Midnight Frost. She will face a random direction and have an icy effect extending from her position either in front or behind her. Whichever direction the ice effect is will be a half room cleave. Getting hit by this will give you a Vul stack. The cast of Lunar Kiss will be a straight line cleaving tank buster to all 3 tanks. All of the tanks will need to spread out as best they can to avoid overlapping these, and everyone else shouldn't stand with the tank. Silver Mirror will place medium-sized point-blank AoEs at the feet of 4 random alliance members. This will happen 3 times as a tracking AoE, so you'll need to get out of these as best you can to avoid the Vul stack that these will give if you get hit by them. As these are finished being put down, Menphina will cast Moonset. This will place down 3 large AoEs on the ground underneath random players. You'll need to dodge out of these AoEs to avoid the Vul stack that these will give out if you get hit by them. I'd advise to stay close to the last AoE, as when Menphina hits the AoE, she will remain in this AoE and cast Winter Halo, which will be a massive donut AoE from this position. So everyone will need to get inside the AoE to avoid the attack. Getting hit by the donut AoE will give you a Vul stack. The next cast of Love's Light will place 4 moons around the arena with a large circle around each of them. 2 of them will be half full and the other 2 will be new moons. Menphina will then cast Full Bright and all 4 moons will begin to be illuminated. When the moons are fully lit up, they will explode in their circular AoEs. So you'll need to stand within the boundaries of a circle of a new moon and avoid the first half moon's AoEs, as these will fill up first. When the half moons have filled up and gone off, you'll need to move into the area that's outside the new moon circles, as these will now fill up and go off. So you'll need to avoid all of the AoEs as best you can. Getting hit by an exploding moon will give you a Vul stack. As this is ending, Menphina will move into the middle of the room and cast another Midnight Frost. Menphina will then cast Selenane Mysteria and become untargetable. 4 stalagmites will fall into the arena and become targetable. A bar labeled the Lover's Power will appear. If this bar fills, Menphina will wipe the group. Destroy all 4 pillars as fast as possible. There will be untargetable ice sprites that will target random alliance members with conal AoEs. You'll just need to get to the side of these to dodge them or get the Vul stack if you get hit by them. At the same time as these will be going out, 6 random alliance members will get point blank AoEs, so these players will need to spread out as best they can. When all of the pillars have been defeated, Menphina will call upon her trained service animal to come and assist her in the fight. Midnight Frost will now not only be a half room cleave from Menphina, but you'll also need to be on the opposite side to the hook from the wolf. This hook will also cleave half of the arena, but only from either left or right in the direction that the wolf is facing. You'll get a Vul stack if you get hit by the hook. Playful Orbit will cause the wolf to go to the wall of the arena and cast another hook as Menphina casts Midnight Frost. So again, you'll need to get to the opposite side of Midnight Frost and the opposite side of the claw to dodge the attack. After another room-wide AoE, Menphina will cast Keen Moonbeam, which will put 3 point-blank AoEs on 3 members of all 3 alliances. These 9 players will need to spread out and avoid overlapping these. As these go off, Menphina will cast another Midnight Frost. The cast of Cratering Chill will put 2 proximity markers on opposite sides of the arena, so you'll need to get as far away from these to reduce the overall damage to you. As these go off, Menphina will cast Winter Solstice. This will make the floor covered in ice. Instead of running or walking, you will slide a set distance in the direction that you move. There will then be another Playful Orbit, but this time Menphina will cast Winter Halo. So you'll need to slide inside the donut AoE from Menphina, but also be on the opposite side to the hook from the wolf in order to dodge both attacks. The next Love's Light will be a moon on the outside of the arena and perform the straight line cleave. She will then cast Playful Orbit and release the wolf to the outside wall. So you'll need to dodge the Love's Light straight line attack, then quickly dodge into the safe zone for Midnight Frost and the wolf's hook to dodge all of the attacks. And the cast of Moonset Rays is a stack marker. Group up to share the damage. Mechanics will begin to repeat from here until Menphina has been defeated. Congratulations, you have completed Euphrosyne. My name is The Scrub. Thank you for watching.